This episode is for you if you have been in a long-term relationship or married and then it ended or you got divorced. This is for those of you who know what it's like to be in some type of a longer term relationship and then it's over. So, if you don't know me by now, my name is Kia and I'm a coach. I've coached thousands of people at London Real Academy, and now I'm launching my own project. You can find out about that in the description box and everything that I'm doing. But today we're just chatting. So if you happen to be watching this live, join in, drop a comment, chat with me. I'm live, you're here, and don't be shy. Before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Mental Health Code. You can find them on Instagram. They do amazing, beautiful work with mental health. And it's just a great resource. Not selling you anything, just informing you. Go check it out. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I know it's been a minute. And if you haven't seen this little limited series before, you can check it out in the playlist on the channel. But what a year it has been for dating. And each of these episodes has, I guess, gone into topics that are kind of important. I've had male guests come on and chat with me about their experiences with dating women and all of this to sort of help us all in this crazy, crazy dating landscape that's post-COVID, right? Everything's different. And if you are, in your 30s or 40s or older, dating is definitely a lot more difficult and exhausting. And a lot of people are over it. They're just tired of it. And I understand that because for the last year and a half, if you don't know by now, this is the first time you're seeing one of these episodes, I've been dating. And my preference has been online dating. And I looked at this sort of like an experiment. And I have been dating and meeting men and talking to men because I've always been a girlfriend or a fiance and a wife. And I never really had that dating experience and I wanted it. And now I've had it. So some of the things that have been really important to me during this entire process has been understanding how difficult it is to do online dating. At first, I was super excited. I was like, okay, this is like shopping, right? And then it became incredibly soul sucking and exhausting. And just meeting. So my process was like this. I would like talk to someone online and then I would sort of vet them and see if we could make it to a phone call or a video call and then out to a date in person. And that's kind of how I started. And surprisingly enough, a lot of people do not like video chats. And I guess because I do online coaching, it's second nature to me to be on camera and talking to people and this podcast, right? But people don't like that, oddly. And I find it safer, right? I find it more, I don't know, fun because that way I can sort of vet people before I meet them in person. Oh, hey, okay, you're all here now. Great. So you can leave a comment. You can chime in and don't be shy. So that said, online dating has been really crazy this year. I've met so many people, and like I said, a lot of them didn't like to meet on camera, but I liked it. And it helped me rule out a lot of people that I wouldn't have connected with in person. So don't snooze on that. Like, it's not bad as long as you're open-minded. Hi. Oh, look at what is this? Cute. Okay, so now you know how it works. So anyway, and it's been such a process. Like, I haven't been on here talking about this in a while because I have been so busy. And I promised that I would come back with another episode. And now here it is. So let's just talk about it. One of the things that I learned early in this whole process of online dating was not to do pen pals. So let's talk about pen pals really quick. And what that means is just that you met someone online and this conversation is just being either on the app or text based. Right. And it carries on for however long. So, being the person that I am, I wanted to have one of these experiences and I did. So, for about 6 months, I had a pen pal. Oh, thank you, sweetie. I appreciate you. Love a good compliment. All women do, you know. Anyway, so and so I just really felt like it was interesting because in the olden days, in like the olden days, people used to write letters or emails even. And so texting and all of that is something that you should understand doesn't mean much, but it can be fun and entertaining. And so, it could be cool to have this kind of texting connection, but if it doesn't go anywhere, it's just a drain, right? So all the coaches, the dating coaches and all of that, and I will agree with them that pen pal relationships are a waste of your time. So one of the strategies that I always used was to just although I did have fun, I actually had a naughty pen pal and it was fun, but it was going nowhere and I could tell. And at some point you just got to cut it, right? And so what I learned is that the coaches are right. And pen pal relationships, whether they're naughty or nice, don't often lead anywhere. And so aw, what if they're out of your league? Okay. So here's that. Let's dive into that and I'll try to remember what I was talking about. So if you're first of all thinking that someone is out of your league, then we have a mindset issue and a self-worth issue, right? Um, and also maybe we have financial issues. So we should work on ourselves first before we approach someone that we think is out of your league. And what that self work is could be inner work or financial work or mindset work to just understand that you are worthy and deserving of love. Now, that person may not reciprocate your feelings, and that's different. And so you would want to look for someone who matches your energy. And when someone doesn't match your energy, they're not willing to, reciprocate your feelings, then one thing that I learned was to move on quickly. And believe me, I had a lot of disappointments in this last year. Talked to lots of men, but a lot of times it didn't go anywhere. Um, what did you say, sweetie? You weren't thinking of money, but there is that. Okay. Well, it's all important, right? Like you want to be financially able to date, to take women out on dates and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that in the way the world is these days, times are tough financially for a lot of people. So I'm not saying that you have to completely pay for everything all the time, but I think it's between the two people and what you guys decide together going for it. But initially, in my opinion, and I think a lot of women agree that the first dates are paid for by the masculine energy. And so having your finances in order, or at least preparing and having funds to take women out on dates is going to be important. But you should also know that women often want to date their match financially or above. Men have the luxury of dating down, and they oftentimes do, but women don't always do that. It's rare, but you can find it, but it's rare. So you might be looking for a really long time. But just keep that in mind, finances do matter when you're dating and when you're in relationships. Okay. So going back to what I was talking about before, the pen pals, right? My experience has been that it's not a good idea. So what I would recommend you do is have a time frame. And this works in all sorts of dating. It's just like having these time frames for how long you're willing to do something. For example, simply texting, messaging back and forth. I think that getting off the app sooner than later is important. I also feel that a guy should ask you, like, a guy should be pacing the relationship forward, not the woman. Sorry, ladies. And so if his pacing is too slow for you, you've got a decision to make. Is this the guy that you're your next guy? Because I don't believe in this one person thing. I think it's a myth that we're sold when we're kids, right? But as you get older, you start to realize that there's many people that can be your person. You can have people, right, over the course of your life. And so, I think if this is the guy for right now, that could become forever, you never know. Um, then maybe you will match each other's pacing, or you will be okay with his pacing being a little slower. Now, um, I think when the pacing is too fast, we can we don't have to accept the too fast pacing, right? That's also a misalignment when you're dating. So that's when the woman, really takes the lead there. And I also do believe relationships are an ebb and flow where you both follow and lead. And I think that's healthy because not everybody's 100% all the time, right? So the partner has to make up the difference of that. And I think what I've experienced in these relationships is that I've had, and the dating that I've done is that it's really like a negotiation in a way where you're making these decisions about how you're going to move forward together, or if you're going to move forward together. Sometimes you ghost somebody or you get ghosted. I don't love ghosting. I think it sucks and it's terrible, but there are times I think when it's appropriate. I did a whole episode on that. A spoiler alert, when there's disrespect or where you don't feel safe. Um, but I prefer to just like let people down easy, and I prefer to be let down easy. I don't like to waste my time. So that's why I give time frames for that. So time frames are really important, and pacing is really important, and just keeping an open mind. I've enjoyed so many experiences. Just even the conversations were really enlightening. And as you're doing your inner work and you're healing, all your childhood wounds, your core wounds, you're building your self concept, you're working on yourself to make sure that your cup is full first before you're trying to be in a relationship, because a lot of people are trying to fill a void with the relationship, and it's not going to go well eventually at some point. I think it's really important for us to do our healing work. And I've done a lot of that over the last year and a half. And every single relationship or connection that I made taught me something. And I think the mindset that you want for dating, especially if you're dating online, is that every single interaction can teach you something. It doesn't have to be just the most hateful, awful thing. Yes, dating is broken. It is difficult in 2025. And I don't know that 2026 is going to be any better. But what I do know is pen pals doesn't work. Also, people are going to show up where they are in their healing. So a lot of times when people ghost you or disappoint you, or they don't show up, or maybe they just, disappeared after you were intimate or whatever, whether they're male or female, this is less about you and more about them. It's about where they're at in their healing journey from whatever last relationship that they left or were left by. And so a lot of people come out of relationships, and this is young mess, but people do it at all ages, is they don't take any time to heal. They just pop into the next relationship because it's easy, right? You're online, you can just swipe to the next person that looks good, right? That sounds good, that says the right things or whatever, wherever you're at. Or you don't even have to be looking for a relationship. You could be looking for just, a hookup or whatever. And some people they're not honest about where they're at and what they're really looking for, which also oftentimes leads to a lot of disappointments and heartbreaks for people. And so you have to realize, like, it's about them. It's not you. And so one of the things I would do every time a relationship didn't work out was I would be like, it's them. It's not me. Right? Because I know I'm doing my work. I know I'm working on myself. And so if you want to understand what some of the work I'm talking about is, I haven't linked them in the description box, but I'm going to. I'm going to send you to Instagram to this page called the Yoga Couple. And this is going to be a great resource for you to start doing the inner work if you haven't, right? They do like lots of great skits. Um, and this is not like a paid promotion. This is, I just like their content. They do lots of these skits that make it really easy to understand, and they've also written some books that I highly recommend reading if you really want to connect with someone in a deep and meaningful way and have a truly beautiful, amazing, and healthy, loving partnership with someone. If that's your goal, please go check out their content and really take it in. But so we covered the pen pal thing. Don't do it. It's a waste of time. If you do, be prepared that it may not turn into anything. Sometimes it does. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but oftentimes those things don't go anywhere. And then also, what I've been talking about today is people showing up where they are and you not taking it in and letting that ruin your experiences with dating, because every single experience is going to be a lesson for you. It's going to teach you something about yourself or just dating in general. Then, especially if you've been in a long term relationship, you're out of practice, right? You are used to this person and now you've got to get out there and meet all these other people, and it's exhausting. It really is. So I encourage you to take breaks when you need them. You know, put the app, like, not delete it, but just pause the app, you know. And I used Hinge, so you know. And, so I would pause my app and I would just take like a month or 2 until I felt like rested. I also really like being single. And I think a lot of people really like being single, and that's okay. But I also really like partnering, and I'm a hopeless romantic. So I would get myself back out there and start meeting people and talking to people again. And another big thing that I found was people in the spiritual community or whatever that aren't really doing the work. So you get sort of lured in because you think they're so enlightened and you think that they're so um, on this level of where they've done this healing work and they're actually ready to partner. And you'll be surprised how many of those people have just learned to use that or are nowhere near where you would want them to be in a healthy relationship with you. So you have to be kind of wary of that. And then there's lots of other guys and that are being dishonest when they're dating. You know, sometimes it's politically based, like they don't want to tell you what their political views are because they feel that they will lose opportunities to date. And starting a relationship with dishonesty is just not a good place to be to begin with, right? And then there's, other people who are just really broken individuals and haven't even begun to do any of the work to recover or just not ready. Like, I met this one guy, he was incredible. He was on paper everything that I would want and as a partner, but because he had such a traumatic divorce, he was just not there. And although he was interested and maybe at a later time we would have been a great match, he just wasn't ready. And so as sad as that was, I had to like let him know that he just wasn't, it was too soon for him. He needed more time. And he needed to become less attached to the toxic ex. And there was no way to do that right now because she was um going through a lot of personal battles, and that was his kid's mom, and he felt, responsible to sort of help her for the sake of his kids. So, although he was a wonderful person, that could never work because I'm in a different place, right? And so I tell you what, I went out on multiple dates with the same guys. So I didn't go out with tons of men, though I talked to them and vetted tons of men. And I will tell you that is what it takes. And it's exhausting. Like I said, you want to go out and talk to people, whether you do it in person or whether you do it on the app. And you have to really get comfortable with rejection because let me tell you, that is what I did. I rejected people and I was also rejected. Things didn't work out. I got disappointed. There were people who I thought, could be a really good potential partner and it just ultimately fell apart. And it was such an exhausting year and a half doing this and I will tell you honestly, like, between the pen pal, between the like guys that came with false pretenses, or I had one guy that was so worried that I was a gold digger that it was like repelling. And it speaks more to about him, and I'm sure he had PTSD from some woman who took advantage of him. But like, you have to heal that and be willing to move past that if you want to have a relationship. One thing I've seen is that a lot of times people are still carrying so much baggage, and that's what I mean about doing the healing work and being, willing to take a deep look at yourself and look at the wounds that you got from your parents, look at your attachment style, and look at all these things. And how you're showing up in relationships without going, oh, it was them, it was them, it was them, and seeing the role that you played and being willing to heal that, so that you can show up authentically and give someone a chance to meet you and like you for you, um, without all of the pain of the past. I mean, I'm not, pain is your best teacher, right? So you learn those lessons and you hold on to those lessons, but you can't let them ruin every other opportunity that you have. Like, each new person is a different person. And until the point that they prove that they can't have trust or they can't, you know, they're the gold digger or whatever the case is, you have to give people a chance. And I think these days, a lot of people feel like relationships are more trouble than they're worth, and that's not true. Sometimes they are when you're with the wrong person, right? But when you're with the right person, it flows a little bit more easily. And then when you're willing to do the work that comes along with being in a relationship, like the yoga couple on Instagram that I suggested you go and check out, um, maybe your next relationship is one that doesn't have to end, because is a point where you should walk away. But before you do that, there's lots of strategies, techniques, and skills you can have and use to make the relationship work. So dating in 2025 was really hard for me. Like, it was very disappointing. I faced a lot of disappointments from these characters that I interacted with, but the thing that I enjoyed was the dates. Because for me, guys plan dates, right? And that's one of the qualities that I look for in a guy. And so when I would go on these dates, each of these guys that I went out with planned different types of dates. And it was so fun to have these different experiences that I might not ever have had before, because it wasn't something that I would think of to go do myself. So, interacting with the different personalities, and having these different experiences was really fun. That was the fun part of dating in 2025. The disappointing part was, like, really connecting with people that you thought had potential to become something more, and then it didn't. And for whatever reason, it fell through. Um, and that was really sad for me, you know? But I took breaks and I persisted. And I think when you are persistent, persistence is a superpower. So if you are like me and you are a hopeless romantic, and you don't want to give up on dating, although it sucks and it's dating apps are just like a nightmare and it's really hard, it's really difficult sometimes. Um don't give up. That's the best advice I can give you is if you really want to be in a relationship, and I'm not saying you're just immediately gonna find the love of your life. Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna say never, but like give people a chance, you know? Talk to people, connect with people, do what makes you feel safe. And, you know, in the beginning of this, was talking about doing video dates and to vet people to see, and I would make this joke like, "I don't wanna waste my makeup, like, I won't, you know, like, I will, get dressed and go out," and it's a lot, right? You get all dressed up, you get all dolled up, you go out and meet someone new, it's, like, nerve-wracking, and then you have to have this conversation and, like, have this experience with them, and you get there and there's no chemistry, or you get there and they're just, like, nothing like their pictures. I definitely had an old, like a catfish, a guy who lied about his age by like 25 years. You know what I mean? Like, and he looked younger than his age. So I get it. I look younger than my age, but it was a big lie. And like I said, starting out a new relationship based on lies is not really the healthiest way to start something. So that was like a no. And but like eventually I started to do a phone call and see how I felt over the phone. And just roll the dice, take a chance, and see if the guy and I had a vibe in person, right? Because sometimes video does like you it can prohibit you from maybe giving someone a chance. So I like to vary it up, and that's the point. Like maybe mix it up and try different things to see what works for you and what's a vibe for you in your dating experiences. Because, you know, and what works for one person might not work for everybody, but if you're not dating at all, you're never going to meet anybody. If you don't put yourself out there, how are you going to meet someone? Unless you're so dedicated to doing it in person and at random, then awesome. But if you're like me and you would like to meet someone online or you want to meet them in person, you're okay with either one. I noticed that men have more difficulty coming up to me in person, but they're more easy to approach me online. So that has been my experience. And so I've put a lot of time and energy into online dating. And I think that it can work. In fact, I know it can work. And I'll tell you why. Because after these experiences dating where like I had some really fun dates, I went to see a lot of live music. I love live music. What else did I do? I went ice skating. I went to great restaurants. I went dancing. Like I like really extraordinary dates. I went on two big hikes. I had a picnic, like great dates, right? And it was really fun in 2025. But in between that fun were the letdowns and the disappointments. And so you have to build resilience. You have to, like I said, be okay with rejection and being rejected and just keep going, keep dating, keep trying. And I haven't come on here for a while doing one of these episodes. And this is why, because I kept dating and I kept trying. I actually met somebody. Hmm. Yeah. And now it's been some months of me dating this person that I met online. How about that? And I actually had my old friend Fawad come on here. We did a male and female episode. You can find it on my channel. Make sure you subscribe. And we talked about that. And he was in a relationship and that he met with someone and I think it lasted a year, but it didn't continue. Um Unfortunately, but it gave me hope. It gave me a lot of hope. And so when I met this person online, I was actually at a really low point. Like I was like, I am so over it. I am just done. Like the last two guys I dated just had so much potential, but like who we're too old to be dating potential. So I had to let them go. And you know what? Um I was just like, I'm going to take a break again. And I took 4 breaks, so 4 months in 2025 before I met someone. 4 breaks? Not an entire month, so I don't think I took 4 months off, but I took 4 breaks, and at least one of them was for a full 30 days, where I wasn't online and I wasn't even looking, and I was just living my life and having fun and doing self-care, right? Which I encourage you to do. And so, being with my friends and people who love me, right? And then I'd go, okay, let me give it another shot. Well, this particular time, I was over it. I was like, listen, the last two out, and I usually multiple date. So I was dating like not intimately, but like going on dates with like two different guys, and both of them didn't work out. Right. And I was like bummed. And I was disappointed again. And I was like, you know what? I'm over this. I'm just over it. I took like a couple of days off. And then I said, you know what? I'm gonna just put my profile back up just for the weekend and see what's out there. Right. And then randomly this guy liked my profile or whatever, and I saw his picture and I thought immediately, that's a yes. So physical attraction, yes, that's really important. It's not all that's important, but it is important, right? Realistically, you want to be attracted to the person you're going to date. And so I said, yeah. He was older than I usually date guys, but he looks so handsome. So I was like, okay, tall, handsome, successful, my type. I mean, I don't have a height requirement anymore, but like I do like, you know, tall guys because I'm a tall woman. So anyway, I was like, "Oh my goodness, he's really handsome." And then I matched with him and we started to chat, and he moved us off the app relatively quickly, which I like. And then he asked me on a date quickly too, which I like. I like a man who's motivated to meet me in person and see if there's a vibe. I do not like guys who drag being on the app texting back and forth for a week. That's trying to make me a pen pal. I don't want to be your pen pal. I tried it. The coaches were right. It's not a good look. It's not a good plan. Don't waste your time. Right? Second of all, like guys who will get you off the app, or girls, right? Who get you off the app and then they just want to um text back and forth or text all day. I don't have time to be texting all day. I understand you probably have an anxious attachment style. And when you start learning all of this stuff, like you see that in other people and it helps you date better, by the way. And so now I can kind of look at people's wounding. I can kind of help them too sometimes. I'm a coach. I can't help myself. but like, but I don't necessarily want to date that. I want to date someone who is a little bit further along in their process and more alignment with where I am at in my process, right? So I'm looking to see if you do the work. Have you gone to therapy? Have you studied emotional intelligence, emotional maturity? Are you willing to take accountability? Are you willing to show up and plan dates? And what's your relationship like with your kids and your ex and all of these important things that are going to show me where you're at, right? And so I started talking to this guy and he was really sweet. Went out on a date with him, and he doesn't know this, right? But the minute he got into my car, right? Um and because he was going to ask me, did I want to walk or did I want to drive to the next location, where we were going to eat, right? And have some cocktails. And I took one look at him and I thought, I think this is a yes for me, but let's see, right? Because then you have to start to get to know him. But that was the vibe I got. I'm pretty intuitive. Sorry, my mic just glitched. And I like to think that I can kind of connect and like kind of know sometimes. It's called claircognizance, right? And I just had this feeling like, yeah. And so as we spent the whole day walking around together and having a conversation and like went to eat and stuff, I realized he was a really lovely person. And so I agreed to go out with him again. And again and again, because every time we hung out, it was really fun, first of all. So his idea of fun is very in line with mine. Um, he planned really fun dates, really dates that where we could talk a lot and get to know each other and just laugh. He's really funny and he has a lot of really wonderful qualities, not to mention he's a chef. So there's that. but but he's really sweet and really nice and a good person. And for me, that was like he's a good human being. And we align with our views on the world and on life and on relationships. And so that was July. And I am going to go and spend some time with him. He lives in another state, so it's a little bit long distance temporarily, but um, we're gonna make it work, I think. So you never know what will happen, but I'm optimistic, and I try to be optimistic about these things. But I am also always prepared to detach because I think having the skill of detachment is necessary when you're dating in 2025 and in 2026. And so I hope that in 2026 you will be hopeful and that you can look at this dating after divorce series and go through each episode and learn something and take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Um I'll probably do more episodes of these because I think relationships matter. I think men and women are meant to be together. And if you look at old psychology, it says that we're geared towards wanting to partner. Now, has life made it so that men want to be single and women want to be single? And like this whole narrative of like, bashing men and, women not wanting to be, in relationships anymore and stuff. I get it. I get it. But if the relationships could be healthier and could be negotiated in a mutually beneficial way to move forward and people had the skills, I think it's a skills problem. People don't have the skills to work through issues and how to detach when it's necessary. So I think, learning about emotional intelligence, number one, and healing a lot of the wounds that we have. I mean, guys were taught lots of things from the patriarchy that are not healthy emotionally for them. And that has meant that women have had to do a lot of the emotional labor in relationships. Um, and I think relationships are changing. So right now, a lot is changing around the world, but relationships are changing too. They need new dynamics, right? Like it's not the old days where a guy just goes to work and a woman stays home and does all the domestic labor and emotional labor for the family. Like if both people are working, both people have to be a team and each individual partnership needs to create the dynamics that are going to be working for them, right? So I think we need to learn how to balance better our masculine and feminines. And once we do that, then I think we can see that maybe marriages will start to rise again. Long term relationships that are happy and fulfilling can rise again. It is possible for us. We first have to believe it's possible, of course, and have the right mindset for dating and relationships and the willingness to do everything possible to make it work before we decide to walk away. Because sometimes there is a time where you just need to walk away from a long-term relationship. Believe me, I've done it twice. Um, but both marriages. So I am, I get it. But I do also believe in doing everything possible to make it work, and both parties need to be willing to do that. And a lot of times, for example, in my first marriage, my husband told me to go to counseling by myself. Now that spoke volumes to me, and it really um, brought me to a place where I was ready to end the relationship. Because I was like, if you're not even willing to do what could help us, then why should I bother? Right. So I think it's really important to be willing to do everything possible to make it work. But also, when it's not working and you've done all of that, be willing to detach and let it go and do your inner work, do your healing work to heal from that relationship before you go out and try to get into another one. Because if you are past 35, you are probably dating people who have been in decades or a decade long relationship, or at least 5 years, or have been married and now they're divorced, or maybe they have kids. And so dating is different at that age, and you need a lot more resilience. But one of the biggest things I can tell you I've seen is that there are a lot of broken, damaged people out there that are just unaware or not doing the work to heal their wounds that maybe their parents caused, maybe it happened by their peers at whatever stage of life, maybe it was a lover or a partner, but there's healing work that needs to be done. And once you start to do that work, dating becomes easier and avoiding toxic connections becomes way easier. And so you can find a partnership that feels fulfilling. So I don't know what's going to happen with the relationship I'm in, but I am very smitten with him, though he doesn't know that because I don't tell him. I haven't really dove deep into telling him all of that yet. But he probably knows. I just haven't said it. I do keep spending lots of time with him though. And so I'm sure he has some idea, but I do feel fulfilled. I feel really fulfilled in the connection. I'm very happy with it, and I found it online. And if I can, so can you. And I'm not saying we're going to be married and ride off into the sunset on his motorcycle, right? I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that I'm open to it. And if it happens, I'm willing to do the work to make the relationship work, right? I'm really willing to work with him. And as long as he's willing to work with me and we're having fun and it's a choice every day that we're making to stay together, then I'm in it, right? I've made my mind up, right? I like him. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do a little series on make yeah, maybe making relationships work should be my next little series. We'll see. Give me time. And this is still a new relationship. It's still building, it's still growing, we're still negotiating. His pace is a lot slower than mine, but slow is better. I like a slow burn, honey. It's good. Like I like a courtship, right? Courting is amazing. I like it. We should all be courted. We should all court and be courted. It's so beautiful and romantic and old-timey and fun and past lifey and all of those wonderful things. So, what do you guys think? What are you going to be doing in 2026 different in your dating life than you did in 2025? Are you doing your healing work? If you need some help, drop a comment. Let me know. You can always go over to Hot Topics Live on Instagram and you can drop me a comment and all of that good stuff there. You can send me a DM. I check them like once a week though, so be patient with me. And so you can follow me in all those places and support the podcast. Definitely check out the playlist of dating after divorce or dating after a long-term relationship. Yeah, I think it's love is beautiful, you guys. Falling in love is an amazing thing. It's one of the best feelings in the world, and you absolutely deserve to feel it and experience it. So don't sell yourself short. Yeah, I know dating's disappointing. I do. But it is not impossible to meet someone if you are persistent and if you get okay with rejecting people. And then once you're in the connection, it's up to both of you to create a connection that's beautiful and fulfilling and happy to each of you, for each of you. And you do that through communication and actions and showing up and backing it up and not cutting and running at the first sign of trouble, but like giving someone a chance, but not too many chances. Because it's important that when you realize you seeing the red flags and you're realizing it's not working for you, that you do end it quickly and then get back out there. So date plenty of people, date often, but don't overstay with the wrong ones. Okay? I believe in you. I know you can do this. I know you can find someone that is incredibly amazing and that you will be really happy with. So I know 2025 has been hard. It was hard for me too. But I actually did meet someone, and I think you can too, 2026. So don't give up. Okay. So that's going to be a wrap for me, you guys. Don't forget to follow me on all my stuff. Check out the description box below to see what I'm offering and the cool things that I have coming up. Catch up on old episodes of Hot Topics Live podcast. If you like my pinup, then you'll go to @Creativity and follow me there. I'm working on a new setup, and I'm working on a couple of new photo shoots. So I haven't been posting recently, but in 2026, I promise you, I'm going to have a whole bunch of really cool, really cute stuff. So you're not going to want to miss that. I'm always post stories so you can know what's going on with me. So follow my stories on Instagram as well. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. If you like this episode, if you think it could help someone, definitely do that. Leave me a comment. I read them, and oftentimes I comment. And subscribe. I mean, I'm growing. This podcast is growing. Thank you for your subscriptions. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your beautiful comments and all the people who have been showing me love and watching live. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time.